So shadow and triggers read. So we're looking at that kind of what connections around you are triggering you to behave in a negatively in a negative manner. So we've got this feeling with these cards that have come up. We've got the moon, we've got anger and change, and we've got the 5 of wands. There's a feeling of anxiety, stress, possible substance misuse, anger, jealousy, confusion being roused within you. There's this feeling that things are in turmoil around you. You react into things. It's almost like you're being triggered into reacting to things. But if you took a step back for a minute to ask yourself why you're being triggered into reacting to these things, because there are times in life where we will connect with people who will just gaslight us, people who are no good for us, that are very negative people, that will navigate to us to kind of draw energy out of us. They will come along and they will gaslight us. And for the most part, when we get into situations like this, we are too close to the situation to be able to see it. So are you reacting in a negative light for no reason, or is someone holding a match to you? And that's the question that we need to ask ourselves now. Is somebody holding a match to you, or are you just reacting? Have you shared insecurities about yourself that are now being used against you to play you like a fiddle into a pattern of behavior? Because it's almost like this is being roused out of you. It's being roused out of you, and you're not sure as to why. Because trauma bonds, as it goes, trauma bonds are very real, and then we can get caught up in our wants. Like we want to be with the person, to have them around, to be connected to them, to not be alone, or to not be lonely. Do these wants in the cold light of day and the cold reality of day outweigh what is true, what is happening? Do they benefit you more? Do these wants benefit you in a way that outweighs the reality of what it is that you're going through? Is this worth having? And you have to ask yourself that, and we don't like to ask ourselves that. So if you take a step back from the situation, if you allow yourself to kind of step back, or you get yourself in your thoughts enough to be able to step back from a situation that you feel like is triggering you off, what is the predominant feeling that you're feeling? Is the predominant feeling in which you, in this relationship or in this connection, in relation to this connection, is this prominent feeling that you are feeling anxiety? Is it stress? Is it feeling tension? Tension and anxiety and stress and worry that kind of engulf you. You get like this kind of tied up in knots feeling within yourself that kind of engulf you. Is that the predominant feeling that gives way actually when somebody starts kind of giving you a bit of affection? When the toxicity that you experience, that is the day-to-day, it gets kind of neutralized with bouts of reinforcement. Love bombing, kind of turning it about, is a very narcissistic energy that I'm picking up on, but it's like kind of love bombing, and then things are just shit and you're on edge and you're walking on eggshells, but then the next minute they're all for you, and they're kind of reinforcing this kind of this energy around you, so you don't know whether you're coming or going. And when you start it's almost like when you start twigging on, when you start feeling yourself being tied up in knots, walking on eggshells, feeling anxious, when you start feeling yourself in this energy, then they shift the energy to a positive reinforcement on you. See, when someone's triggering us in such a way, it is good practice to look at self and to learn and understand how it's coming about, why it's coming about, the origins. Because usually when people play on things, or when we're triggered off by something, it's something that's probably happened to us before in our past. So what is causing this reaction in you? Is this reaction genuine? Have you shared information that is now being used against you? What are the origins of the feelings that you were feeling in relation to this person, this connection, this thing? But we shouldn't also, at the same time, we should never also just kind of take it all on ourselves and feel like this is all to do with just us, or that we are the problem. You shouldn't overlook anybody else that's involved, or anybody else that's around you, or the roles that they play. You should never assume that the problem is solely with you, that the problem is solely with us, that we are an issue, that we have a problem. That may be being fed to you, but that doesn't mean that's the truth that doesn't mean that that's the truth. It doesn't. See, in this moon card here, what we've got in this moon card is a river of emotions. A river of emotions. The river of emotion that's being handed over is an illusion. You can see this in this card. This river of emotions turns to ribbon. She's holding in her hands a ribbon. The ribbon binds us to the emotion. So it's about learning to observe situations without reacting. It will take practice to do that. It will take practice to be able to feel a feeling and be able to step yourself back and go, hang on a minute, why am I feeling this? What is going on? What is happening? What is triggering this off? And if you feel safe to do so, a good practice actually is to write things down. If it's safe for you to do so, if you feel like nobody else is going to be able to read your personal private thoughts, write things down, get it out, write it down on a piece of paper. Because sometimes when we get things out, we write it down on a piece of paper. And when we put it away and then we come back and look at it, when we've calmed down, when the emotions have calmed down and we look at it, then we can look at it objectively. And when we're reading it in black and white on paper and we're reading what actually happened, then we can start to question it, and then we can go, hang on a minute, this was fucked up. So just write down what happened, what it brought up in you, but also if it was intentionally brought up or unintentionally. So you need to have a look and see whether it was intentionally brought up to you or whether it was unintentionally. Did they do or say something to get a reaction out of you? Did they intend to get a reaction out of you? And also, did they twist the recall of the facts after the fact? Have they twisted the story to fit their narrative or to make you feel that your mind is not right, or that you in this state of confusion or in this state of kind of being enveloped in, well, what is right and what is wrong, what is real, what is fake, what is true, what is not? There is literally heavy energy of manipulation through this read, and that's not okay. Do not be okay with someone gaslighting you for fear of being lonely. Yeah, when we have issues, when we have things that trigger us off, yeah, it's good to look at self. Why is this triggering me off? What about my past? What about situations? What about my reaction to things is allowing me to go into that? But also, it's not good to write off the fact that somebody may be intentionally doing this to you, and it feels like that in this read. That's what it feels like in this read, that somebody is intentionally doing something. Perhaps you shared a fear, perhaps you shared a trauma, and something is being played on to manipulate your emotions into a way of being, into the situation where it's intentionally triggering that off in you. It's not okay. It's not okay to do that to people. It's not okay to have that done to you, and it's not okay to do that to people. Emotional manipulation. You actually deserve so much more. You do deserve so much more. You shouldn't be in situations where you can't share traumas, you can't share past hurts, you can't share pain that you have been through or that you've experienced through fear that somebody's literally going to come along and use that against you in some way. Use it in a way where it's going to trigger off negative emotional energies within you and have you feeling, acting, behaving some kind of way, or affecting your mental health in that way. And people do that. People do that quite skillfully. And as I say, when you're that close to a situation, you may not even fucking notice that is happening. You may be thinking it's all on you, and it doesn't feel like it in this read. You're being asked to open your eyes, write down, step back. Anything that you you are being made to feel like maybe you are the problem or the issue in, take a step back from it, write it down. And then when you've calmed down or the situation's calmed down, have a look at it objectively. How did it make you feel? Why did it make you feel like that? Have they twisted the facts after the fact? If you write it down, as soon as you get a moment to write it down, then you've got what happened there and then in the paper, on the paper, and we can then look at it objectively. Is like, did they intentionally do that? Did they not intentionally do that? Was it something that was done purposefully, or was it something that was done by accident? But because I've got wounds, it's triggered me off. But this feels very much like manipulation, and this feels very much like it's an intentional act. It feels very much like it's an intentional act. You're being asked to take your head out of the clouds, because if you see this card here, she's literally got her head in the clouds. Take your head out of the clouds. Stop daydreaming into a situation. Stop allowing things to kind of just whiz by you and flow by you and take things as gospel. You need to take a step back and look at things, analyze things, and figure out once and for all what is going on in a situation, because it feels very much like you're being manipulated. It feels like it's very intentional. It feels like it is designed to make you feel some kind of way. And you get that a lot with narcissistic behaviors, where somebody will make you feel small, they will make you feel ugly, they'll make you feel daft, they'll make you feel like you are going crazy, and they will do all these things to undermine you, to make you feel some kind of like it's weird. It's like adoration for the person. It's almost like you're not worthy and they're giving you the time of day, so then you start admiring, adorating them, and it's not healthy. It's not a healthy way to be. But that is what a lot of people do. A lot of people do this. It's narcissistic tendencies, a narcissistic trait, and a lot of people do this. It's like when someone that feels average looking gets with a beautiful girl, or vice versa, and they make them feel like shit about themselves, maybe make them start questioning their body, start questioning their eating habits, this, that, and the other, and it's just to undermine them, so this person doesn't realise their worth and go off away from them. And it's a very negative trait to have, but this is what this feels like. It feels like something that is intentionally being put upon you to have a reaction, to have you act in some kind of way, and then they can sit back and go, but look at you, look at what you're doing, you are crazy. And that's what it feels like to me. So I'm going to leave this here. Okay, thank you.